The time is now 6 p.m. The Board of Education will now reconvene in open session. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Here.
Mr. Lara, Ms. Cabral,
Here.
Mrs. Cordero,
Here.
Mr. Valencia.
Present. Item A, report from closed session items. For closed session items A, B, and C, information was shared. Item B, introduction of interpreters. Tonight's interpreters are Cesar Ruiz and Manuel Rios Victoria. Greeting and support this evening is provided by Benji Alfaro. Item C, Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's inspiration will be provided by Adams School. Will you all be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Is that correct? Excellent, you're up.
Push the button.
Face the flag, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Great job. And Adam, our inspiration tonight will be provided by Adams School. Please join us in a big round of applause for Adams Elementary. I had the pleasure of meeting some of your students in the restroom, and so they said they were a little bit nervous, but I reminded them that this is a friendly crowd, right, everyone? And a very welcoming crowd. Good to see you again. Whoops.
Just be nice and loud. Okay.
I am Guadalupe, Kaylee, Camilla, Elisa,
Naomi.
and we are from Adam K Kids. At Adam Elementary, this week is Kindness Week. We're smiling at each other, giving compliments, and doing random acts of kindness.
Each class is discussing their favorite kindness saying and writing them with chalk in front of the rooms.
In that spirit, we would like to share the K Kids inspirations with you.
Starting with Mother Teresa, who said, "Kind words can be short to speak, but their echoes are truly endless."
Ending with Dolly Parton saying, if you see someone without a smile, give them yours.
Thank you from Adam K Kids.
And as far as the inspiration for you folks, is there any additional component you all would like to complete in your inspiration? Okay, excellent. So presenters, feel free to begin.
Hello, my name is Krista. I'm a sixth grader at Adams School and a member of our Halo Happenings news crew. We believe that Adam is a great place to learn. We also believe that showing our students activities and what is important to us helps us feel included in our school community. One way we do this is by creating our weekly Halo Happenings news program. My favorite segment is Mind Games. It makes us wake up on Monday morning when our minds are shut off because of the weekend. It makes them turn back on with the puzzle. I joined Halo Happenings because my sister was in it and I wanted to join so I could be just like her.
Hi, my name is John. I'm in the fourth grade. Our team meets 3 days a week after school to create Halo Happenings. In Halo Happenings, we learn about communicating, teamwork, and deadlines. We also learn about technology such as how to airdrop, use green screen, and edit an iMovie. It can be hard, but we know our school is counting on us.
Hi, I'm Isias. I think it's important to have our own news show so we know what's going on. We can tell everyone about special events like family night and jump rope for heart. We can also see the fun things that the other classes are doing.
My name is Marlin. The first time I saw Halo happenings, I felt like I belonged there and I wanted to join. When our students see themselves on the news, they know they are an important part of our school.
Hello, my name is Eileen. My favorite segment is New Angel because we say the names of our new students. I think it helps them feel welcome. It also makes it easier for us to make new friends.
I'm Brian. I love the smiles on my classmates' faces when we watch Halo happening. Our class likes to be challenged by our mind games and jokes.
My name is Serenity. I am the only third grader on the crew. I think Halo Happening is fun because we get to use puppets to explain important words like compare and contrast. We also use them to show students how to make smart choices.
Hello, my name is Edwin. One reason I really wanted to join the Halo Happenings crew is to learn about green screening and editing. Now that you know why Halo Happenings is important to us, we would like to share our latest episode. Quiet on the set.
Good morning, Adam Angels, and welcome to another episode of Halo Happenings.
We hope you enjoy your weekend. My name is Marlene.
And my name is Isias. Did you know we're having a family night this month?
Yes, keep watching to learn more about it.
Let's get things started with the lunch menu.
Today we're going to have bean and cheese pupusas. Tomorrow they will serve heart-shaped chicken nuggets. Wednesday we will have garlic cheese toast. On Thursday we will be having PB&J sandwiches. We don't have school on Friday, so you have to make your own lunch.
It's always a great day to make a new friend. This week we would like to welcome 3 new angels. In first grade we have Rose Steele, our new third grader in Joel. Fourth grade is happy to welcome Charlene. We hope they like it here at Adam.
Thank you for everyone who has donated for Jump Over Heart. You make a difference for people that have heart disease. Our school goal is for every student to donate at least $5 for kids that have heart disease.
It has 88 keys but can't open a single door. What is it? Think about it. We'll be right back with the answer. Did you figure it out yet? What has 88 key but can't open a single door? A piano.
Our next family event, Literacy Night, will be held Wednesday, February 28th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Invite your families for a fun night of reading and book activities. The Santa Maria Public Library's book mobile will be at our school. We will also have an amazing raffle. One lucky primary student and one upper grade student will win one of these great prize packets. We will tell you more about Literacy Night next week. Until then, keep reading.
Hello, Adam Angels. It's me, Pumpkin. Welcome to Kindness Week. Tomorrow's Rainbow Day. Wear any color from the rainbow that you want, and make sure you include everyone at recess. Don't let anyone play alone. Hey, April, what do you like about Halo Happenings? I like the song. What about you? I like the lunch review. Goodbye, Flamingo.
That was funny how our proud Sabrina gives us some of our classes. She taught us how to be safe when we are walking and riding our bikes, scooters, and skateboards. These are just a few things that we have learned.
Protect our phones, tablets, and Chromebooks with special cases because they're expensive and we don't want them to break. Our brains are even more valuable than our devices. Plus, we cannot buy a new one if it is damaged. That is why we have to make sure our helmets fit correctly. And we need to wear them whenever we ride our bikes, skateboards, and scooters. It's the smart thing to do, and it's the law.
We also learned that if you see white lights on the back of a car, it is coming toward you. This is important because a car might be backing out of its driveway when you are walking to school.
And now for the jokes of the week. Did you hear about the guy who promised his girlfriend a diamond for Valentine's Day? He took her to a baseball diamond to watch a game. What did the calculator say to the pencil on Valentine's Day? You can count on me. What do you call a very small Valentine? A Valentine. That's all, folks. That's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us. And remember, make sure to wear a halo every day. Bye, Autumn Angels.
We close every episode with our school song. It was written for us using our Halo school rules. All of the students at our school know the song and many of them like to sing along. Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed learning about Halo happenings.
Board members, any comments from you all? I had a feeling there would be.
Just briefly, hey, Brian, I really like the way that you raised the mic for Serenity without even thinking about it when you left. That was super cool. Props.
I'd like to have all of our performers stand up and take a bow And for teachers to introduce themselves, please. Turn around and take a bow.
My name is Lisa McNeil. I'm a fourth grade teacher and I'm the teacher who works with the after school. And I also always that my thing from now on is when I sign up the board, I want to say my own children attended some regular school district. Children went from K through 8. So thank you. My name is Katie Stettenhausen, and I'm the outreach mentor at elementary school, and I also do K Kids with Maureen Scottney and Penny Walkley. Work very hard for us, and we do all outdoor communities and fundraisers and thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you all very much. You were great.
And before you all leave, I also just want to say thank you. There were many highlights to your presentation. And then just so you know, I don't even think students at the high school level are producing these movies the way you all are. So I would love to see what you're doing replicated in our junior high schools and high schools in case they're not there yet. But when you come to Santa Maria High School, hopefully you'll bring it. A couple of things you mentioned that I really appreciated was I think you said that you mentioned the names of new students at your school. I think that's a wonderful way to include new students. I think you also mentioned that some of your focus words for the year, I think I saw the word love on there. And we just have a new logo that features a heart. So your timing is perfect because we like to say here that, what is the phrase, Dr. McDuffie? Service is an act of love. So you all are embodying that spirit. I love seeing Baile Folclórico. I wish I had that when I was in elementary and middle school. And, the safety tips you all are providing just, for being protective of cars, it's pretty dangerous out there sometimes. So these are literally life-saving things that you all are teaching your peers. And I can't say enough just how grateful I am to the staff, to the parents. Thank you so much for raising such wonderful children. We look forward to seeing them at the high school level. Dr. McDuffie?
Just one thing, students, do you have a principal here as well? Who is she? There she is, Miss Grossi. I just wanted to call you out. Thank you very much for your service. I'd like to introduce them real quick.
Mm. Thank you so much. We're really grateful that you're here. And that concludes our segment for the inspiration. Is that correct, Dr. McDuffie? Yep. So guests, you're welcome to, leave if you'd like to, or you're welcome to stay for the meeting. So right here, then, sounds like right here. They'll say their comment right there.
I will, when you talk about public comment, I'll say, do we have any public? I'll say, we have something on the.
And they helped
consent
do
item,
the tree
and then
for our altruism
we'll
event
take it
with the
to-
kids.
I think it might even be public. Since consent is there.
Okay, excellent. All right, we are now at item A, public comment period, open session. The public comments are intended for members of the public to address the School Board of Education on items involving the school district. Such testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each or 450 words per person or subject, and 15 minutes total for each topic. If an answer to a specific question is requested, the Board of Education will, if appropriate, direct administration to respond in writing. Just as a reminder to all speakers and presenters, please be mindful when speaking at the podium not to speak too quickly so that our interpreters are able to increase accuracy and keep pace for our Spanish and Mixtec speaking audience. Do we have any public comments this evening, Dr. McDuffie?
Yes, we do. We have one public comment on a consent agenda item coming up after our approval of the agenda. So I'd like them to go ahead and do their public comment now, if that's okay.
Excellent.
Okay. We have Teresa Rowley.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Teresa Rowley, and I am a substitute teacher with the district. I've worked in the district since January of 2020, including a period of distance learning. I am here today to speak in support of the 2023-2024 certificated substitute salary schedule being proposed as the third item of the Human Resources consent section of today's meeting. On December 1st, a survey was sent out by Dr. Bland.
You can ignore that for now.
A survey was sent out by Dr. Bland regarding substitute teaching. In this survey, the pool of substitute teachers, as well as many teachers who have covered other classes in the past, were asked to provide feedback. Respondents were asked whether they were current substitute teachers for the district, whether they were employed with other districts, and if they had ever chosen a job at another district over Santa Maria Bonita, and if so, why. They were also asked if there were any suggestions for how to attract a more diverse and larger substitute pool. It is no secret that there is a shortage of substitutes all over the country as well here. As I understand, the most common response was that to attract more substitutes, we need to pay more money. When speaking with other substitute teachers, both at our monthly professional learning sessions, as well as myself speaking with other substitute teachers at various sites, the reason many of our subs choose to work at other districts or leave the profession entirely has come down to the current salary schedule. Right now, we cannot compete with the salaries being offered by our main competitor districts. Lompoc School District is paying a $170 rate with $210 for special education. Lucia Mar is paying $175 daily rate. Both of these districts are also offering long-term sub pay significantly more than our current. Our current daily rate for Santa Maria Bonita is $150 with $185 for long-term. We need more substitute teachers to keep our schools running smoothly. Approving this suggested salary schedule will give Santa Maria Bonita an edge needed to attract new substitutes as well as retain our current pool. This improved stipend schedule also proposed will encourage students to continue to choose placements in Santa Maria Bonita classrooms over other districts. This change, combined with the recent training and professional development opportunities being offered to the subs of Santa Maria Bonita, shows us that we are valued members of the community and a community that I am happy and proud to be a part of. The substitute teachers of Santa Maria Bonita hope you will approve the salary schedule. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Item 9, approval of agenda as presented. May I have a motion to accept the agenda? It is moved by Ms. Cordero, seconded by Mr. Hollinshead to accept the agenda as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 10, consent items. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. They will be acted upon by roll call vote in one motion without discussion unless a member of the board requests an item be pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be voted on separately. May I have a motion to approve the consent items as presented?
Mr. Valencia,
Yes.
can I make a comment, please?
Sure.
I've certainly, I think the thunder was stolen there. I wanted to congratulate the district on the subscale, but also I wanted to bring we've got a lot of board policies in there, and I wanted to bring attention to 5131.9 academic honesty as a new policy. And 5141.5 mental health as a new board policy, and thank the people who are responsible for writing those new policies and applaud them, because I think, especially the mental health board policy is in keeping with our goal 5 and the LCAP that we're going to talk about later, and certainly our emphasis on mental health that we've had over the last 4 years. So I want to thank them for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Hollinshead, for highlighting those policies. I was also particularly impressed with our food and nutrition policies that are looking at ways to provide our students with as much food made from scratch, encouraging us to do more, garden to table, if you will, or gardens, so increasing the probability of increasing gardens at each of our school sites so that our students are learning about, nutrition and taking care of themselves. So thank you for highlighting those things. May I have a motion to approve the consent items as presented?
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Hollinshead and seconded by Ms. Cordero to approve the consent items as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Action item 11, item A, 2024 CSBA Delegate Assembly Election. Dr. McDuffie.
Thank you, President Valencia. Attached is a copy of the official ballot for the 2024 election of representatives to the CSBA Delegate Assembly. Each board as a whole has one vote for each vacancy in the Delegate Assembly within the constituency to which the board belongs. You'll note that our subregion or area, Santa Barbara County, has one vacancy.
Are there any further questions from the board or comments? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Okay, I'll go ahead and recommend that the Board of Education cast its vote for the candidate of its choice in subregion 11A, Santa Barbara County, as provided.
I'll second.
You need to designate the candidate's
Oh,
name.
okay, so recommend that the Board of Education cast its vote for Dr. Peter Wright.
And I'll second.
It is moved by Ms. Cabral and seconded by Mr. Lara that the Board of Education cast its vote for the candidate of its choice in subregion 11A, Santa Barbara County, as provided. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item B, award of bid number 5297, requirements contract for wireless microphone equipment, rebid. Mr. Beecher.
Thank you very much, President Valencia. Tonight, to speak on this item, we have Patricia McKnight to talk about the procurement process, and she may ask for assistance if it gets down into the details from Mr. Ricky.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Dr. McDuffie and Cabinet. Tonight, we are bringing back to the Board the rebid of the requirements contract for wireless microphone equipment and accessories. We had previously brought it to the Board and requested to have all bids rejected and the solicitation rebid. This requirements contract will allow district staff to standardize equipment while ensuring a competitive price for up to 3 years. It also allows other agencies the opportunity to piggyback on the district's contract under the same terms and conditions. District staff prepared the specifications and the solicitation documents were advertised and posted on December 28th. 32 prospective bidders downloaded the bid documents and 6 bids were received and opened on January 29th. Jay Swagart, doing business as BDJ Tech, bid $1,260 per bundle for each initial wireless setup. For bidding purposes, the first year
And
purchase
Carter,
quantity.
for just one moment, please.
Slow down. Okay, sorry. So for bidding purposes, The first year purchase quantity was estimated at 500 bundles. The solicitation also requested a percentage off of list pricing for replacement parts and additional equipment. For this category, they quoted a 25% discount. Jay Swigart, doing business as BDJ Tech's bid was deemed as the lowest responsible bidder, and they meet all of the requirements outlined in the bid documents. So Brian here can answer any questions regarding the wireless equipment, what the configuration is, and what the specifications called for.
When you say a bundle.
Hold on, Mr. Lara. You have Ms. Cordero first.
I think I'm going the same place Mr. Lara was. Exactly how much equipment, and it says on an as-needed basis. So are we talking that every teacher would have a wireless microphone to use in their classroom? Or would they be available for checkout to various school sites for events at their site and use here at Sousa Center?
Absolutely. So I'd love to answer that question and give you a little context while I do that. So the equipment we're talking about tonight is classroom amplification for the voice. So all of our classrooms already are equipped with, as you know, projectors and laptops and document cameras and nice speakers. So we're now adding amplification for the teacher voice, additionally for the student voices, which you know is really important as well. And so these are installed in classrooms to be a permanent fixture. And we've already installed over 100, closer probably to 150. They're really popular, both for the student and the teacher voice. And so it's a permanent install, and our goal is to make it available in all classrooms. And the reason this particular bid was written this way is just to give us flexibility depending on budget access. So depending on how much budget we have left within the technology classroom upgrade budget we have set aside, then we can, go after so many each year. So I know this year we're going to at least purchase another 100, but it could be more depending on, where our budget looks like as we get closer to the end of the school year.
So the second part of my question is, should we want to purchase more than what this pays? Would it need to go out to bid again, or is the arrangement that additional could be purchased at the same price?
Yeah, so this is providing us a fixed rate for whatever purchase and whatever quantities we decide to do. So we're not tied to a specific number, and we can buy the amount we need. And what's really nice, the work that Ms. McKnight did is she's made this available through the cooperative bidding process, available to other districts who might want the same opportunity. And so it's going to be a nice time saver for those other districts as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Lara?
When you're saying a bundle, what is that?
Yep. So the what's included in this bundle is a lanyard that goes around the teacher's neck. You may have seen them used. Sometimes we've used them in the LCAP meetings that hangs around the teacher's neck. Then there's a receiver that connects to all the existing equipment, so that can be wireless. And then you've probably also seen the square kind of pillow microphone that we've tossed around before. It's that same equipment. So this particular equipment is called Catchbox that's being brought forward, and it's what we have already in those 100 to 150 classrooms.
Are there any further questions or comments from the board? My question is, I noticed that there was a bid from a local business, a Santa Maria business. However, their bid was very close to 100,000 over this bid. Just for the public out there that might not be aware of this process, definitely something that's important to me is, when possible, hiring from local businesses. But correct me if I'm wrong. So because this bid came in over 100K approximately over, that is why they're not eligible, or they're not getting, recommended for this contract. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is based off of low bid.
Gotcha. And they only get one opportunity to bid, correct? And it's kind of like a, for lack of better words, it's like a blind test, if you will.
It is a sealed bid, so we don't have access to it until the date and time of the bid opening. So at that point, then it's released and we're able to see everybody's bid. So we have no access to it, and it is what it is when it's opened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just for my sake, my clarity's sake, once they submit this bid, if other bids are, more competitive and they can offer the same service, we're going to go with the lower bid, assuming that, of course, they're going to provide a quality product. Great.
It is a little bit.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. May I have a motion?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the award of a contract for bid number 5297, requirements contract for wireless microphone equipment to J. Swigert Incorporated, also known as BDJ Tech, as presented.
Second.
It is moved by Ms. Cordero and seconded by Mr. Hollinshead that the Board of Education approve the award of a contract for bid number 5297, requirements contract for wireless microphone equipment to J. Swigert, Inc., DBA BDJ Tech as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion carries. Item C, public hearing on the Santa Maria Bonita School District Sunshine Proposal for the successor to the collective bargaining agreement for classified bargaining unit members expiring on June 30, 2023. At this time, the Board of Education will open the public hearing. Dr. McDuffie, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Seeing none with no further comments reported, I will call the public hearing to a close at this time. And the time is 6:36 p.m. Item C, discussion discuss and approve the Santa Maria Bonita School District Sunshine Proposal for the successor to the collective bargaining agreement for the classified bargaining unit members expiring on June 30, 2026. Dr. Bland.
Well, good evening, President Valencia, Board, and Dr. McDuffie. The Santa Maria Bonita School District has submitted its sunshine proposal for the successor of the collective bargaining agreement expiring on June 30th, 2026 for classified bargaining unit members. SMBSD is requesting the Board of Education consider opening the following articles. Article 6, pay and allowances. Article 7, health and welfare benefits. Article 10, leave of absence, and Article 13, grievance procedures, as well as all the articles that will be brought forward to by the California School Employees Association, Chapter 129, CSEA, for approval by the Board of Education, and lastly, other related items and conditions of employment that may arise during the course of negotiations.
Board members, are there any questions or comments for Dr. Bland? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the Santa Maria Bonita School District Sunshine Proposal for the successor to the collective bargaining agreement for the classified bargaining unit members expiring on June 30th, 2026 as presented.
And I'll second.
It is moved by Mr. Hollinshead and seconded by Ms. Cordero that the Board of Education approve the Santa Maria Bonita School District Sunshine Proposal for the successor to the collective bargaining agreement for the classified bargaining unit members expiring on June 30, 2026 as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item E, the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school calendar, scheduled holidays. Dr. Bland.
Yes, hello again. And so the proposed Santa Maria Bonita School District calendar is presented to the Board of Education for adoption. In addition, in accordance with Article 8, scheduled holidays of the agreement between the Santa Maria Elementary Education Association, California School Employees Association, Chapter 129, and the district holidays have been updated also to coincide with the holidays on the school calendar.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Hollinshead?
I've written out some comments, Mr. Valencia, and I wrote them out so that to be sure that I was mostly concise. I know I can talk a bit, but also so hopefully as not to offend. I just wanted to briefly give my background in education, as most folks know that I'm a physical therapist in the community and a track coach at the high school level, but I've also worked as an athletic trainer in a all-male military boarding school, grades 5 through 12, 2 liberal arts colleges, and a Quaker day school in Washington, D.C., which was K through 12 as well. The campus I was on was grades 5 through 12. All of these institutions created academic calendars that were student-driven. None of them involved surveying RE religious holidays for an entire student body. By creating a consistent year-to-year academic calendar, they were or are able to consider teacher and student fatigue, placement of breaks appropriately for same and other factors that ensured optimal outcomes as well as mental health. As a public district, we are obliged to observe separation of church and state as a public institution and not have one religion dictate policy. Much of the ideals behind this separation come from welcoming and celebrating those who have chosen to live here. We honor all of our students and their differences. So it would seem that this way of determining a calendar is, in that sense, neither honoring our diverse community nor including all. I am of the strong belief, after speaking with teachers, doing this SMEA gallery walk, and through my educational experience, that this calendar is not student-centered or teacher-centered. So to give voice to those members of our community who feel similarly, I will dissent this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollinshead. Are there any further questions or comments from the board? My questions, Mr. Bland, relate to, I know, working as a teacher at the Santa Maria High School, district, Santa Maria Joint Union High School District. One of the major concerns of our families is when there's a mismatch between the Bonita school calendar and the high school calendar. My understanding is that these two calendars are very comparable, if you will, very similar. Can you please highlight for us where, if at all, there's some differences in these two calendars? And the reason this is so significant is that there's times where our high school students will actually miss school if they have to care for a little one at home whenever there's a mismatch, versus when if there's children in our school district and the high school district, then of course there's no need for that type of situation to occur.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we are, working with our families or, trying to align as much as we can with and be as close to the high school district as we can. I don't have the high school district calendar with me in front of me so that I can give you those differences, but I can certainly look that up and get that information for you.
Yeah, President Valencia, it would probably be difficult to point out those specifics within the calendar. I know what I'll do is I'll provide that also to the board. There are some similarities that maybe you can point out that we follow comparable to the high school district.
So we're looking at start dates and end dates, winter breaks, holiday winter breaks, and generally, hopefully, and then, like I said, not having the high school calendar in front of me, but like our spring break as well too. But looking at more like our winter break or our Christmas break.
So it sounds like our start dates align, our end dates align, and our breaks align, like winter break and spring break.
As closely as possible, yeah.
Seeing no further questions or comments from the board, may I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and recommend that the school board approve the 2024-25 and 2025-26 school calendars and scheduled holidays as presented.
And I'll second that.
It is moved by Ms. Cabral and seconded by Ms. Cordero that the Board of Education approve the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school calendars and scheduled holidays as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead,
No.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 12, discussion items. Item A, discussion of communications, themes, and strategies on district facilities needs. Mr. Beecher.
Excuse me, President Valencia, I had a different item in my mind to start with, so give me a second to realign real quick.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, President Valencia, School Board Superintendent, for providing this time and space for an important conversation again. As we consider the feasibility, the viability of a general obligation bond ballot measure for November of 2024. In December, the board received information from Lori Ranieri and Keith Weaver from Government Financial Services, JPA. They talked about just the general financial construction of a potential bond measure. They talked about market conditions, and they talked about what might be available as funding that could come out of a school bond and comply with statutory requirements. Last month, we heard from Dr. Tim McLarney, True North Research, about his very sophisticated tracking poll, some of the outcomes from that, and some of the important highlights about our voters and how they feel about a potential bond measure. And the important message that he provided was that the data indicated that there was support amongst voters, likely voters in November of 2024, with a well-led volunteer committee supporting that general obligation bond ballot measure.
Mr. Beecher, can you pause for just a moment, please? Would you mind putting the mic a little closer? I'm thinking about the folks at home who might not be able to hear you as well.
Thank you very much, President Valencia. I eventually will generate a memory that I'm supposed to stand closer to the microphone. I'm 2 years in, and it hasn't sunk in. So I appreciate the consistent reminders from you and past presidents that I need to speak closer to the microphone. There was a time when we had hardware in the boardroom that you had to speak a specific like 3 inches away from in order for it to pick up the proper tone in your voice and not pop. And I haven't adjusted my approach. So with all of that, I'll return to what I want to make sure I say to the school board as I get ready to introduce our partner. Tonight, Bonnie Moss from Clifford Moss is here as a representative of our communications team, as a advisor to us as we prepare and analyze our decision for a ballot measure. Bonnie was a critical partner in the successful effort that led to the Measure T bond being passed in 2014. She comes here tonight to share important information of some of the political aspects of our community. She and her team have been helping us create a theme and a narrative to our story of need. Needs that we defined with the help of many members of our community and included in our strategic plan and also in our facility master plan. As important as having a cohesive stream of messages around these needs, it is also important that we create time and space to listen to our community and to listen to our partners. All of that will be a part of our work with Bonnie Moss, her message for you tonight. With all that in mind, I want to welcome Bonnie Moss to the microphone to share with you, be available to you for questions, some really important information as we continue down this road. Bonnie?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have to say it is such a privilege to be back. I'm Bonnie Moss with Clifford Moss. Good evening, President Valencia and board members, and all of you here tonight. I'm just really emotionally moved because I work all over the state with our team, and yet when I come to Santa Maria, there is something very powerful that happens here. And tonight I was swept away by the Adams Elementary students. And I realized that that incredible spirit is alive and well at your schools every day. So Dr. McDuffie, Thank you for being an awesome leader. He has been a true inspiration since I got to reconnect with you all. And I do want to thank you, the board, for your service. As a former school board member myself, I did an 8-year tour of duty. I know this is hard work, it's selfless work, and it's also inspiring work. So thank you for your leadership. And I am here tonight to help tell a story and update you with where we are in our process of determining feasibility on a potential bond. And I do want to say that I have about 20 slides that I'm going to fly through. We're going to give you copies of all of these. We have other talking points, which we call the flavor of the narrative, that Dr. McDuffie has been very inspiring, helping us customize in a very unique way. And so we're going to fly through those slides, and then I'm hoping for exchange, conversation, Q&A, anything that you might want to ask, because here I am and excited to be here. So here we are. It is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Forgot to add that. And your school facilities journey has really brought you to this place where you are considering, studying, thinking about a potential bond on the November 2024 ballot. And as my good friend and longtime, it's crazy, it's 10 years later after Measure T, but here we are. As my good friend Matt Beecher reminds me, there has been a very deliberate effort to provide information to you, the board, so that as we continue down this pathway, you are continuing to build your own understanding and knowledge of all the moving parts that go into a decision that will come to you down line to put a measure on the ballot and let the people vote on whether they want to allow for this local funding stream to bring in the next era of great school facilities for your school district. And so tonight I'm here to talk about the communications piece of that. And I do want to remind you, and I know some of you on the board, well, probably all of you were here, but some of you on the board, we worked very hard together to ensure that Measure T passed. And that was a huge success. And that was 10 years ago. But the really amazing thing is not only was the win fantastic, and I believe it was the highest in the county for that particular election. And there were other measures that did not pass. And here Santa Maria just went to the top and passed successfully. But in addition to that, the real win came after passage of the measure, when the district had to honor its commitment to voters and do what it said it was going to do. And there have been many, many things that have happened in the facilities improvement space that Matt Beecher knows a lot better than I do, but those are all happening. And why is that important? It's important because voters will ask, what did you do last time? And so to be able to have this story to tell is really important. And so here we are in 2024. There are several things that are the same as what we did before, and there are some new things. And I should stop to say that one of the great new things is your fantastic new strategic planning process that is in place, and we have been loyal to in this process so far, and also your new logo. All of this has been very deliberately considered as we're thinking about a bond. The big piece that we pay attention to is that sweet spot you see on the screen, the two intersecting circles. We need to pay attention to the intersection of interest between what we know we need, or what you know you need in terms of facilities, and what your unique set of voters tell us they're willing to support. So we're paying attention to that. Dr. McClarney shared results of the latest research on that. We're also working along those three tracks. There's a district due diligence track. There's a piece that is deliberately focused on the 5 of you, because you are the entity that takes action to vote yay or nay to put it on the ballot. So we pay very careful attention to making sure we're giving you information, but not so much all in one meeting that you go on overload. And lastly, we pay attention to stakeholder and and opinion leader engagement, and we'll be happy to talk about that. There's also a set of key predictors. You can look at any bond measure that is winning today or not winning and see those key predictors at work. Either they worked and you got over the top or they didn't. We're also paying attention to time, and we're very deliberate about where are we going and what are we doing at various points in the process. That bright yellow window, by the way, on the line there is the election window. And that is once the board has placed a measure on the ballot, there's an 88-day window where that's where the community really is discussing, do we want to vote for this or not? And there's a committee and a campaign, and there might be super proponents and there might be folks who are skeptics. There's all kinds of things that can happen in that window. So what we do on the front end is really pay attention to preparing so that when we get to that 88-day bright yellow window, we're not learning, we're not looking around saying, what do we do now? We know what we need to do. And so that's part of the process. Another key part of the process, as Matt said, is listening. And our firm belief is that people support what they help create. People support what they help create. And so we're practicing engaging stakeholders and listening, really listening well, long before we come back to you and ask to put a measure on the ballot. And who are we listening to? We're listening to lots of stakeholders, but the interesting thing here in Santa Maria is that we're paying careful attention to voters because they are the ones who will end up voting. And what's really interesting is there's been a lot of growth in your electorate. So we're paying attention to that. We know there's a number of those voters who were here for Measure T, but there's a whole bunch, thousands of folks who are new and who weren't here for Measure T. And so we need to be very flexible and nimble and be able to speak to any and all who have questions for us about a potential ballot measure. We pay attention to what are their political opinions. We've learned a lot over the years. I've been doing this for 24 years, so I've learned a lot about who tend to be very easily supportive, who tend to be skeptical, who tend to have a lot of questions, and we're paying attention to that. We're paying attention to the age of voters because it turns out that over the lifetime of folks, when folks are younger, they often, what we see is they're more supportive, but they're also very busy, very distracted, living life. And older voters tend to be much better about voting. So we're paying attention to all of these factors. We're paying attention to the tremendous diversity of Santa Maria and how that might contribute to telling the story. We're paying attention to all of those things. And when we get to this question of public engagement, it can take many, many different forms. It can be groups, it can be individual conversations, it can be online, digital, it can be a cup of coffee in a coffee shop. So what we strive to do is to be very deliberate. And back in 2014, we did some quality listening efforts. These were the mailers that we did in 2014, and we did ask people, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And we got lots of input back from the community at that point. But here we are in 2024, and we're taking the best of what we know is true in our story today, and we are going to have a direct mail component as we did in 2014. And the fabulous thing that I have to say in this place, in this story, is that you have so many amazing things to talk about the difference that the district is making and the way that you are already engaging the community. So we're about to send out a mailer that introduces your strategic planning process, that introduces your fabulous new logo, and also talks about your action teams and core strategy number 3, which is the facilities piece, and ask people to look at videos. There's 3 different QR codes. So there's a very engaging way of drawing folks in, but it's different than what we did 10 years ago. And we're hoping to get the next step will be a much more facilities focused type mailer, but mail is part of where we go in this process. So if you're a parent in the district, you will get one of these mailers. If you are a voter in the district, you will get one of these mailers. We are doing them in English and Spanish, and we're asking people to weigh in. In addition, we're adding in digital and we're adding in video. And we had folks here who came and have taken great videos of your team. We have a student, we have teachers, we have principals, we have Dr. McDuffie, we have digital, little digital ads that you can see there that are going to go out in the community, and they're literally going to say, click here and learn more about who we are. And later they will say, click here and take our survey. The more we can get the community to weigh in and take pride in what you are all doing, that's where we want to go. And then there is a piece around real conversations with real people. And when we say opinion leaders in my world, our definition is when they speak, people listen. So they may or may not have a title. They may be a neighbor around the corner who has no kids in school, but everybody calls that lady up and says, what should I do? How should I vote? What do you think? And they will be a powerful force in this. So opinion leaders come in all shapes and forms, and we're out there building a list of folks that Dr. McDuffie, Matt Beecher, others on the team are going to be engaging. And we would love to have you be part of that if you're interested in being part of it. But our big pitch in that work is to reach out, tell our story of accomplishment, of amazing things, and the story of need. And I will hope that we can get you our flavor of the narrative. It's a one-pager that has all the key points that we think are important to share with someone who may express interest in what are you doing over there at the school district. So here it is, and we're going to tell that story across all the platforms. So online, in conversations, if we're texting, on our videos, in our direct mail, and all with your new logo and all under the banner of your strategic planning process. And we're going to ask people, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And the beauty of this process is that the story of need can be told in a bunch of different ways, as long as we are remembering to mention certain things, like our district keeps growing and we need facilities to house our kids, and our schools are aging and we need facility improvements for that. But everybody gets to tell the story in their own words, and that makes it very authentic. And so this process is very built on a foundation of stories, and everybody gets to tell those stories in a way that works for them. And so the message that we're talking about is really our school district is on the move, and here's how. And the examples that any of you might use, or Matt would use, or Dr. McDuffie would use might be different from person to person, but they're all signs of an amazing school district on the move. And then item 2 is, but we have needs. And we really want to invite our community to understand us so that together we can build for the future and cultivate those bright futures for our kids. And then number 3 is the best part of all, where we say, what do you think? What are your questions? What do you need to know? And it's that third part that is really powerful, and lots of people never expect it. They never expect to be asked, what do you think? And they never expect you ever get back to them and tell them, here's what you all told us, and we're going there too. So if you think about it, as we've thought, okay, if you are board members, you're going to be stopped. A mailer is about to go out to thousands of households about your district. My prediction is you're going to be asked. People are going to stop you, whether it's at church or the grocery store or a community event or a school event. People are going to say, wow, I got your mailer. what am I supposed to do? And that's where you get to be part of this effort. We hope you want to be part of this effort to say, we are studying the next step here in a potential bond measure. We're studying, and we're going to be studying it throughout the spring. We're exploring options. No decisions have been made. And what do you think? What are your questions? And then you might get somebody who like decides to just throw and cascade all kinds of opinions. Great is the response. Thank you. I will share that with others. But we're not here to sell anything to anybody. We're here to just tell our story of need and engage them and invite them to give us input. That's what we have found works. It worked for us in 2014. We see it working across the state now. Although I will say, I don't work with as many school districts who have the amazing things to talk about that you do, that I've been learning on our every other week calls. So if you think about this, we're doing this listening. Dr. McDuffie is doing listening all the time. Matt has a list, and others are plugging in to reach out to certain community groups and organizations. School sites are going to be doing listening. And so you, the board, can be part of this as well. And we hope you want to be. And my prediction is, again, you will be, because people are going to see what's happening and they're going to want to know more from you because you are leaders of this district. So if there is a secret sauce to the communications piece, it's quality public engagement that's uniquely matched to this community. And it's a lot of listening. It's not selling, it's listening at this point. And number two is message discipline. And we're going to give you a one-pager that helps you see the kinds of needs that are really emerging at the top here. And lastly, using time wisely. And that's where our job is, to help the district stay on track so that as we move through the spring, you're continuing to get information as trustees, and we are bringing information back to you about what we heard. And it's all coming together in those intersecting circles so that by the time we get to that 88-day window, we aren't thinking about, okay, what do we do now? We're ready. We're ready for that process. We have volunteers who want to be part of that process. We have voters out there who said, yeah, I remember they asked me for my opinion about this. And all of that will work well for the district if we can stay on the path that we're on now. So that is the big picture. And let me stop there and just ask what you all think. What do you think of this process? What are your questions? I'm here to respond and answer and be helpful.
Board colleagues, what questions or comments might you have? Ms. Cordero?
Well, I'm one of the ones that was here 10 years ago when we did this the first time. And it was challenging, exciting, and ultimately extremely rewarding. At that time, our outreach was solid. We had a very committed task force that worked hard to reach people and have those town hall meetings and make those phone calls and do all of those things that we need to do. Personally, with the changes in requirements, just at the transitional kinder and kinder level, that in and of itself validates our need.
Mm-hmm.
And I think any parents that have kids in school can see the impact that has had at their school site. Were we able to do everything we wanted when we passed that bond measure? Unfortunately, no, because like our life, things change, costs increase, and you end up prioritizing. But the bottom line here to me is we need additional schools. That's, and it's hard to say at this point because I don't have a magic ball to predict what our population growth may be, but we do continue to grow. We are not one of those communities that is losing our population. So we need to be proactive.
I hear you.
Mr. Hollins.
And part of that, reckoning back to that too, Mrs. Cordero, was, I think what Mrs. Moss is pointing out is that we also have to draw in each and every campus and listen to what they feel their needs are, and understand that outside of the building of a new school, that there are things that each of them are entitled to, or that need to be done, so that everybody is feeling like they've received a piece of the pie, if you will, or however you want to say it. But I think, that's, I think the clarification for me when we went through this, and Matt did a really great job with the sites and prioritizing what things they would want to do, is really getting that, being able as board members to answer those questions too. And also understand that the question may come, well, this is for building a school, how come you're spending it on other sites, or things like that. So I think those are the things that we need to be prepared to answer. I was wondering, Ms. Moss, what the coordination is between your team and the facilities master plan group or report, and even the architects there, in discerning what those different sites would look like and the needs are. And then also perhaps with Mr. Ricky and what information would be disseminated or available on the website for the district. Not that we haven't, that's kind of more passive, but it allows people to kind of look at it.
Right, absolutely. And let me add that when you receive the one pager with really helpful notes about what our greatest needs are and what we learned in our research, you'll see there's an element that is the new construction to relieve overcrowding because our schools are growing and enrollment is growing. And yes, you are somewhat unique in that way, because many school districts that we work with around the state are in decline. And so they're looking at, how do we close schools? You have a very different environment here. You're growing, and so you got to build schools. And you also have now 21 schools that are all aging. So we have to help the community understand there's one component of this that is new construction to relieve overcrowding. And there's another component of this that is tending to aging school facilities and keeping them in good repair. And the amount of regular money that we get from the state for that is not enough. And this is the way that California school districts update their schools for the next generation and future generations. So that's one point that I just want to add there. But to answer your question, the mailer that we're about to send out, which becomes the foundation for the digital work, the video work, the other continuing conversation, shines a spotlight on the facility master plan, the excellent interactive facility master plan that you have. And we were very deliberate in our messaging for this particular mailer, not to overwhelm the reader. You've got so many good things to talk about that we could overwhelm the reader. But we chose to take this opportunity to shine a spotlight on the strategic planning process, because it's so fantastic and has been so inclusive in the way it's invited the community to come in and help shape the future. And then We did take time to start moving in the direction of facilities by shining a spotlight on the facility master plan. So that will also be in this first mailer, as well as we said, several QR codes that say, learn about this, see our videos, watch principals or Dr. McDuffie talk about our district. As we go forward, we're going to go deeper on what our facility needs are. And you are correct that each of these 21 school sites are microcosms of the community. So they need to have those conversations too. But the beauty is you have a facility master plan, and it's very current and it's very interactive. And we're going to use that tool, that asset, to help the community understand that not only do you have needs, but you have a plan to address those needs. And that's the first question that the toughest skeptics ask. They say, what are you going to do? And they will ask, how much is it going to cost me? And we'll be ready for that question as well. And what did you do last time? And the benefit for Santa Maria Bonita is you have Matt Beecher. Every time I ask a tough question, he's right there with an answer. So he may have trouble getting up to the mic, but he knows his numbers and he knows his facilities.
Other questions or comments from the board? One of my questions is that the Santa Maria Joint High School District is also in the process of highly considering a bond, is my understanding. So how do we prepare for that with our likelihood of also moving in that direction?
Yeah, great question. And I actually was contacted by folks who are working with the high school district about exploring that very question. And I think what's important here is you both are two distinct public agencies that have a responsibility, that have facilities that need attention. There may be opportunities to support each other should either entity go onto the ballot. And we need to be open to having those conversations. I know Dr. McDuffie is always traveling in education circles, and we talked the other day about his relationship with the superintendent in the high school district. So we know that is coming. We also know that voters are smart. They can figure it out, and they will be able to hear the proposal from Santa Maria Bonita District and the high school district, and they will make their own decisions about it. In a community like Santa Maria Bonita, where there is an openness as the community grows to ensuring good schools, we hope that both measures pass if they're both on the ballot. But there certainly needs to be more conversation. The piece you all have control over is this piece. And the piece that needs further conversation is the conversation with how do we all go to the ballot? How do we all get along as we're going to the ballot? So there you go.
Were you going to add something, Mr. Beecher, or are you just there for backup?
I was going to let you finish, and then I wanted to add on to a little bit of what Bonnie talked about in response to Mr. Hollinshead's question. So I wanted to make sure you had your.
Okay. Yeah, please feel free to answer his question. Then I'll continue my questions after.
Thank you very much. I wanted to add that the bond measure, the ballot measure, is one option for financing the needs that are described in the facility master plan, and that there are other funding streams that districts take advantage of to implement other projects. And so while, as Ms. Cordero described, the Measure T funding wasn't sufficient to do everything that was described, some of those projects started early enough that there wasn't even awareness that there was going to be a crunch around the construction of Measure T. So we were started down those priorities. But what has also happened since then is we've begun to invest other funding sources into some of those improvements. And so one of the things that was a part of every school site's feedback on project needs was HVAC. And we've gone through and worked on air quality improvements with other funding sources at campuses that we plan to start at other campuses this summer. And then also really close to the school district office is the field improvement at Fessler Junior High. That was a request that was a part of their project. It couldn't happen at the time, but it became a priority and became a part of our maintenance plan and occurred. So I wanted to make sure and add that in. Bonnie's response was about what happens within the process of communication and a potential ballot measure. But I wanted to make sure that that conversation around other funding streams that might be available can also add to the mix to bring other priorities in beyond just the ballot measure.
Stay close, because what I was going to say, hearing that is fantastic, because there will be voters who say, did you go anywhere else before you came to us? And we have a beautiful story to tell. Thank you, Matt. We'll be able to say, yes, we did.
Excellent. One of my follow-up questions is, I feel a little conflicted in the sense of you're telling us right now it's kind of like listening mode right now. And my bias is towards advocacy mode already, because I see the need.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like why kind of so how do we kind of negotiate that? Because I feel like I'm ready to go because I see that need. But right now we're still on listening mode. So how do we mesh those two right now?
Great question. Totally understandable. And one of the things that we've learned under that banner of people support what they help create is if you start selling too early before people have had the chance or been asked to weigh in, there is potential for risk factors there, where people say, well, you already knew what you were going to do and you didn't include me. Whereas here, what we're doing is we're looking at the most compelling facts and we're speaking factually. And those facts are very compelling. Are we advocating? No, we're saying, here are the facts. What do you think? We're considering our options. What do you think? There will come a time when we will say, okay, green light, we need to sell, we need to advocate, but we are not at that point right now. So I would say to you, I love that you're ready to roll. And the way we encourage anyone who wants to be part of that effort is to choose your facts, fact check your facts, but facts can be very compelling. And then always ask people, what do you think? What are your questions? It's powerful.
Thank you for that. And then lastly, you had mentioned that we're going to have videos in English and Spanish. And then I want to make sure that if we have the capacity, which I believe we do, to have them in other predominant languages. In our community, that would be Mixteco. But if we have Arabic or if we have Tagalog, I want to make sure that we have that accessibility for those families, especially the videos.
Your team has been truly loyal to Santa Maria Bonita. Confession, I was not familiar with Mixteco prior to this project, and there are a number of advocates who are working to ensure that no family or community constituency is left out. So we're working very hard to make sure that we get to meet people where they are. And that's both a person-to-person approach, as well as all of our tools in the toolkit, whether it's direct mail or digital or video, or your team, your fantastic team. This is going to be a mosaic experience of communicating and listening.
Thank you so much. Seeing no further questions from the board or comments, the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the discussion of communications, themes, and strategies on district facilities needs as presented. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for letting me come speak with you. It's just a really fabulous way to make my day, my Valentine's Day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Item B, public hearing mitigated negative declaration for the Bonita School, for the Bonita Elementary School Drinking Water Improvements Project. Normally, yes, but
Can I ask for a break?
sure, yeah, this would be a good time to take a, now what, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. And when we say 5 minutes, we do mean 5 minutes. So we'll be back in 5. Thank you so much. At this time, the Board of Education will open the public hearing. Dr. McDuffie, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
With no comments reported, I will call the public hearing to a close at 11:31. Oh, excuse me, I'm going into the future, 7:31. I'm just so used to our marathon sessions that 7:30 is unbelievable right now. Are there any further questions from the board? With no further questions, the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the public hearing, mitigated negative declaration for the Bonita Elementary School Drinking Water Improvements Project as presented.
Excuse me, Mr. President, we do have a little bit of information we want to share as staff, so that there's continued awareness of the process we're engaged in. I appreciate you doing that introduction. I wrote a little script for myself to include half of that, so I'm really glad you got that done. I'll move on, get us out of here before 11:30. But we did find ourselves in a lucky position to schedule this public hearing while our mitigated negative declaration document is out for public comment, so that if anyone did want to share directly with the school board, they could. Assuming, and what I heard is that there may not be questions from the school board, but if there are questions or concerns that come from information you hear tonight, we can address those things. The public comments, we can address those things, but barring any of that, the plan would then be to bring this mitigated negative declaration document back for the board's acceptance and approval as a consent agenda item at our next earliest opportunity. So I wanted to just kind of finish off kind of the procedural conversation and then hand it off to Javier Cavazos, Coordinator for Maintenance, Operations, Facilities, and Transportation, to talk a little bit about the project and introduce our partner at Rincon, who's handling the environmental work for us.
Thanks, Matt. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Dr. McDuffie, Cabinet. So as Matt was saying, tonight, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the mitigated negative declaration for the Bonita Elementary Drinking Water Improvement Project. And we spoke about this last time we were here. I gave a summary of the project. And so this process falls under the CEQA guidelines, which is the California Environmental Quality Act. The study that was conducted describes the environmental impact of our project specifically, and ensures that the construction and the operation do not generate an adverse impact on the environment. Tonight, we have joining us remotely Annalise Torres, who is a senior environmental partner with Rincon Consultants, who specialize in supporting districts like ours on projects like this. So tonight, Annalise will be going over the project. She will be going over the mitigation measurements and the public review process. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Annalise. Thank you for being here tonight.
Of course, and thank you for that introduction. Just to confirm, you're able to hear me all right? Yes. Okay, I think I heard a yes there. Let me know if the presentation is not showing up for anybody as well. So thank you for having me here tonight at the board meeting. As Javier mentioned, my name is Annalise Torres. I'm a senior environmental planner with Rincon Consultants, and we have been assisting the district with preparation of the California Environmental Quality Act for the Bonita School Drinking Water Improvements Project. So to start off this brief presentation, I just wanted to give a short project overview to orient anybody in the audience who may be unfamiliar with the project. So the project involves installation of approximately 8,100 linear feet of 2-inch diameter service line from the Bonita Elementary School to the City of Santa Maria's water system. Other project components include repurposing the existing on-site storage tank, potentially adding a new hydropneumatic tank, as well as minor piping modifications and the replacement of lead service lines in Building K. The purpose of the project is to address some water quality issues in the school's water supply by connecting the school to the city's water system rather than continuing to rely on the groundwater well. This slide shows a map of the project components. You can see there the pipeline extending along Highway 166 and Black Road, as well as an area of the school that is part of the project boundary where some of the water infrastructure is currently located. In addition, there is a small orange square on that map that shows a staging area that will be used for construction, staging, and laydown temporarily within the school's parking lot. In terms of construction activities, construction is anticipated to occur between January 2025 and January 2026. A couple other things I'll note with regard to construction, there is a plan to install the pipeline along Highway 166 via horizontal directional drilling. What that means is that a series of excavation pits will be dug out along the alignment, and then that pipeline would actually be installed under the surface rather than via typical open trench methods, so as to minimize disruptions to traffic along Highway 166. In addition, there may be partial lane closures during pipe installation along Highway 166 and Black Road, just to accommodate construction equipment and work areas during that pipeline installation. Now I'll give everybody a brief overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. CEQA has 4 primary purposes: to disclose the significant environmental effects of proposed projects, to identify ways to avoid or reduce environmental impacts, to consider feasible alternatives to proposed actions, and to enhance public participation in the planning process. The flowchart on this slide outlines the CEQA process for the type of document that we have prepared for this project, which is an initial study mitigated negative declaration, otherwise known as an ISMND. So you can see at this point we're in the public review period. So to date, the district, with the support of Rincon, has prepared the ISMND and has released that for public review. So now is the time when members of the public and other agencies are able to submit comments on the adequacy of the draft ISMND. Once that public review period concludes on February 26th, we'll move into preparing the final ISMND along with the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which outlines the mitigation measures and the plan for implementation of those measures. After that, the CEQA findings will be drafted up, and as Matt mentioned, the document will go back to the board to consider for adoption along with project approval. Once that decision is made, a notice of determination is filed, and then other public agencies who may have decision-making responsibilities for the project, such as the City of Santa Maria or the State Water Resources Control Board, can use that final ISMND as part of their decision-making process to streamline their own environmental reviews. Now I'll get into some of those project specifics that are contained in the draft ISMND. The ISMND covers all 20 environmental resource topics typically included in a CEQA document, which are shown here on the slide. And I've highlighted the ones where potentially significant environmental impacts are identified. So these include biological and cultural resources, transportation, hydrology and water quality, hazards and hazardous materials, noise, and air quality. For each of these resources, there are 1 or more mitigation measures proposed to address those impacts. This slide provides a summary table of those mitigation measures that are proposed, and I can walk through each of those briefly. For air quality impacts during construction, there are the standard fugitive dust control measures recommended by the local air district. For biological resources, there are potential impacts to 2 different resources. There's the California red-legged frog, which is a federally threatened species and a state species of special concern that has potential to use the agricultural ditches that run parallel to Highway 166 as dispersal areas, meaning they could be moving through the area and within the pipeline work area during construction. So there are mitigation measures to conduct a training for the construction workers so that they are aware of this potential and aware of the species, as well as to do pre-construction surveys to ensure the species is not present, and implementation of construction site best management practices. Then for nesting birds, which have the potential to be nesting during construction in some trees, shrubs, and other areas along the pipeline alignment, there are a suite of avoidance and minimization measures proposed, which include pre-construction surveys for nesting birds if construction starts during the nesting season. For cultural resources, the mitigation measure includes procedures for handling unanticipated discoveries of archaeological resources. There are no known archaeological resources in the immediate vicinity of the project site, but it's always a possibility that archaeological resources could be unearthed during ground disturbance. Next, for hazardous materials, there is potential for the soil along the pipeline alignment to have some degree of contamination with it, specifically with regard to aerially deposited lead, which is common along highways that have been present since before the 1970s when lead was phased out of gasoline, as well as pesticides and arsenic, which can be associated with agricultural uses. So the mitigation measures to address that include a limited soils assessment, a site management plan, and disposal of any impacted contaminated soil. Next, we have a mitigation measure for a hazardous materials management and spill control plan, which is intended to address the potential for accidental spills or leaks of materials during construction, such as fuels or solvents. As I mentioned previously, there are some agricultural ditches that run parallel to the pipeline alignment. And so this is intended to implement appropriate procedures to ensure any spills or leaks do not enter those ditches. Next, we have a construction noise reduction mitigation measure, which addresses noise impacts both to the elementary school as well as to a couple of residences that are located along the pipeline alignment. And then lastly, there is a mitigation measure for a traffic control plan, which primarily is intended to help preserve emergency access along Highway 166 and Black Road if single lane closures are required during construction. The final portion of my presentation about the public review process. So we are currently in the midst of the public review period. As I noted, it is ongoing through Monday, February 26th at 5:00 p.m. And then following conclusion of that, we will move forward with preparing the final ISMND, and it will be brought back to the board at the earliest available opportunity for consideration for adoption and project approval. If there are members of the public who are interested in reviewing the draft ISMND, it is posted on the district's website. It is also available in a hard copy format at the district's office during normal business hours and at Bonita Elementary School during normal school hours. If anyone is interested in providing public comment, those comments can be submitted to Javier Cavazos via either mail or email. I've listed his address here on the slide, as well as his email address. I'll also note that this contact information is available in the notice of intent that is posted online with the draft ISMND, and it's available in the hard copy notice of intent that is at the district's office and at Bonita Elementary School, in case anybody needs it. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions if needed.
Ms. Cordero?
I'm just full of questions tonight. The trench that is going to be dug, is it, I know it's adjacent to the roadway. Is that public or private land? And my second question is, who pays for all of this?
I might defer to Javier for those questions since they're related to the project.
So the boring will take place in the public right of way. And so we do have an extended portion of the pipeline that will be just outside the paved shoulder. And so that's still within the public right of way. And then we are looking for funding to have this project through, or 100% funding through the state of California for the, as part of our Water for Schools grant that they have available for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Lara?
It's gonna go on the north side, right? Along Main Street Cooler and down the road.
Yes.
Just off of the pavement is what you're saying?
Correct.
Couple feet south of the ditch, the main ditch drainage there.
Yes, and then once we get to Bonita School, there's some railing where we'll have to come into the paved section, but again, it's all underground. So it shouldn't be a major disruption to traffic or the roadway.
I'm just surprised that many feet and it's only 2 inches. Just
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be like maybe 4 and then bell down to a 2 when he got to the school, just Because it's, I mean, what, 8,100 feet, 8,100 feet? Is that
Yes.
what it is?
So when we were doing the feasibility for this project, that size of a pipeline, we don't use enough water on site for it to turn over.
Okay.
So it would become stagnant in the pipeline. So we had to go to a two inch, which would allow us to filter that water through on a regular basis.
I get it then. More pressure and everything just to get to
Yes.
the headland, the head of the school. All right, thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments from the board? So in sum, Mr. Cavazos, we're taking this measure to ensure that the water that the Bonita School has access to is safe drinking water or safer drinking water. Is that correct?
Yes, and again, I want to make clear that the school does have clean drinking water available to them. They've always had that. This is just a permanent solution so that we don't have to rely on the well water, which has has proven to be challenging in maintaining. And so, yes, this is going to be clean drinking water from the city of Santa Maria, like our other schools have.
Excellent. Thank you so much. With no further questions, the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the public hearing, mitigated negative declaration for the Bonita Elementary School Drinking Water Improvements Project as presented. Item 13, new business. Is there any new business from the board at this time? Oh, pardon me. I'm jumping the gun all over again today. I don't think it's in my notes. That's why. Item 12C, local control and accountability, LCAP and local indicators mid-year update. Mr. Humphrey.
Yes, good evening, board. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm here to provide let's see, are we showing up here, Mr. Riggi? You're okay. An overview of the mid-year update for the local control accountability plan. As you're aware, the LCAP is our 3-year investment plan resulting from funds directly from our 91% unduplicated student count, serving over 17,000 of our Santa Maria Bonita School District students, 21 schools, and over 2,000 employees across 7 different goals. As part of the development for that annual plan, we have outreach and venues to a number of different opportunities for ed partners to engage in a consultation, ranging from our strategic action team meetings, DLAC, our district communities, online surveys, and even the students themselves. Through the benefit of technology with Thought Exchange, we're able to both gather as well as analyze and distill a number of different data points that allows for anonymity and transparency and best informing our investments and decision-making for the LCAP. Our most recent online survey had over 300 contributions, over 3,000 ratings. You see some of the top themes that surfaced from that online survey, ranging from facilities needs, increased newcomer student services, more family event nights. We continue to do increased outreach for our students, going to multiple junior high sites to talk to the students themselves. We most recently were able to work with Ms. Danley and our student leadership team and go through an LCAP activity where they both identified some priorities that they had in improving their school experience at SMBSD. And then we're given SMBSD dollars to help do the important work of prioritizing those identified topics. You can see some of their top rated thoughts that they wanted to make their investments there above. More field trips, better food options, improved facilities, common themes from last year. As our final authorizer, is Santa Barbara County Education Office. Before they send it to the state, we work in close alignment with the county, go to a number of workshops that they provide. It's a statewide initiative too, so we also go to Sacramento for an annual conference there. We collaborate with LACO, who provides webinars and resources so we can learn best practices from different districts all across the state. You've been provided an overview of a number of different data points. Ms. Grock and her assessment accountability team have done an outstanding job of making sure that we get detailed information through both presentation and executive summary, ranging from our most recent CASFEP results, LPAC summative results, and our local district benchmarks, including the NWA map. As an overview of the mid-year update, we provide actions, highlights across our 7 goals. These are approved from last year and ongoing this year in supporting student learning. We have funding that ranges from our math adoption, increasing access to our VAPA program, AVID and GATE, expanded learning opportunities, response to intervention teachers, and supporting our systems for quality leaders in education. We've allocated dollars towards math diagnostic, improving and increasing our teacher pipeline. Last year was year 1 for the credential program, and this year we were able to add an ed specialist credential due to this funding. We've had year 1 of our residency program. Excited to announce that, of course, our residents will be certified teachers next year due to this funding. In best preparing our students for college and career, we've provided dedicated funding to increase access to AVID. We've also been able to provide funding for not just our TK through 8 school counselors, but curriculum through tier 1 lessons for them in all grade levels. In supporting our English learner academic proficiency, you've seen 3 newcomer pilot programs come to fruition because of this funding. DLI action teams through this ongoing funding as well. To help promote safe, healthy, and positive learning environments, all of our junior high schools now have a web program because of the dollars that were dedicated toward this. Increasing layers of mental health support to address our student needs. A number of different staffing positions to help our unduplicated students, primarily from a spectrum of our foster youth liaisons, outreach mentors, program specialists, and our health assistants as well. And increasing our engagement with families, we provide funding towards parent education and engagement programs, programs like PK. We've also dedicated significant funding towards our translation services to ensure that all of our families have equal language access. And our final goal around diversity, equity, and inclusion is to provide funding for the 2nd year of our leader equity training. We also have staffing for TOSA, specifically for culture and climate supports to help our school with SEL-related goals, and then increased SEL promotion through materials and programs through this dedicated funding. On the fiscal end, across all 7 goals, you have a report here that provides the allocation per goal, the actuals as of the January budgeted reporting, and then the balance. Goal 1's a good example of some indicators that you'll see common across each of them. This is the actuals are the spending up until January. Since we have so much significant staffing within the LCAP, just note that those salaries were only expensed up to that point in time for it. But also we've been able to leverage relief funds to help support some of our actions and services within the LCAP. Goal 2 shows another commonality in here with staffing. Also comes the potential for vacancies. So we're working hard to fill those vacancies. The allocation for that funding remains in the LCAP. Going across all the rest of the 4, we have reflections of goals that can be on a trajectory to either be overspent or underspent. Goal 3 is an example of a goal that is on its way to being overspent from the initial allocation. And that is primarily because of Action 3.5, recruit and retain experienced and qualified certificated teachers. The allocation was made, and then our staff members received a raise for classified and certificated along with the contractual agreements. And so that amount is going to be overspent on that goal. But the LCAP, again, is our investment plan. So we accommodate that for the material differences, and then it helps inform our budget for the next year. You don't get penalized or anything like that for it. Goal 4 in supporting our English language learners. We have dedicated funding there. You see a balance of just over $6.6 million being fulfilled at a number of levels. One that is being underspent right now is just a reflection of staffing vacancies. Our bilingual instructional aid positions that we're working hard to fill, as well as the position for coordinator multilingual services, may result in an underspending at the end of the year for that goal in particular. Goals 5 and 6, you'll see potential overspending in Goal 5, because of an increase in approved contracts for our outside agencies, including Fighting Back Samurai Valley, Family Service Agencies, and Quest. But we also have vacancies within that goal that will help balance it out, help inform our budget for next year. And then in Goal 6, you see some overspending because there's a necessity to increase our translation services and increase the funding for that throughout the rest of the year. And finally, in Goal 7, another example of leveraging relief funds for our professional learning. We have vacancies in a couple of our positions with the area administrators and some underspending in the allocation towards college and career readiness field trips. And that's indicative of the difficulty that we still have in attaining transportation. But also of note, sites are also utilizing their SIPSA funding for a number of these field trips as well. Next steps. Between now and the next time you'll see me speaking about the LCAP, which is in June. It's an ongoing collaboration with our ed partners. We have a number of other venues and opportunities to provide input. We're going to work in close contact with our business department, Brian King and Matt Beecher, to keep an eye on the budgetary implications, primarily the governor's May revision. As our final authorizing body, the SBCO, we work in collaboration. They have continuing workshops and the coordination I'll have with them. And that leads us to our public hearing. First meeting in June. Request for approval and adoption by June 26th. And we'll have it off to SBCO just in time for the deadline before June 30th. Thank you for your time and hearing about this important milestone in our work.
Board colleagues, what questions or comments might you have? Mr. Hollingshead.
Sorry, just in brief, Dr. Humphrey, this was really helpful. I'm sure you are spending a lot of time on a lot of other things, but if you could you get something like this if you're going to present again? And I mean, I know now you probably will, but we could get it maybe ahead of time.
Okay.
Because
I think I
all
did
those
provide
things
it
very
ahead of time.
quickly.
Apologies if it didn't get to you though.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm only not such a fast reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to speak on that, we've made an effort to try and get all the presentations to the board members so that you can pre-read those and be ready for questions as well. So we'll continue to make that effort.
I'd like to have an after that just to review. Be able to read everything in the chat.
After, you mean, do you want?
Yes, to just see the.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Humphrey, you had mentioned, I think it was at turbo speed. You know, I know it's a lot to go over, but I think you had mentioned an increase in Avid funding. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that again?
Did you mention an increase in Avid funding within the LCAP? Was that one of the things
Yeah,
that you had gone over?
It's the same action and service that was approved in the LCAP. It's increased from years before. Yes.
Gotcha. And it's good to see that because it's one of those things that I see research supporting, right? Especially in supporting our underrepresented students of color, low-income students. It tends to, the research, right, shows that it helps those students to make significant academic gains. So it's nice to see increases in those areas. Is that a conversation that you all have frequently? Is the research that backs the initiatives that folks are supporting?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the input from our ed partners. Then on an annual basis, we have to provide a goal analysis that's included in the LCAP that is board approved, and it indicates the qualitative and quantitative measures as well as any kind of research that backs that certain initiative.
Excellent. I'm also happy to see programs like PICE. I've had the privilege of visiting some of the sessions the trainings that our parents get. It's really good to see the tools that they receive on how to help their child navigate the education system, especially since so many of our families are first generation with our school system. So I'm really happy to see that we're continuing those investments because I see how it empowers our families when they get it in our school district, and then they utilize those tools at the high school level and then take advantage of PK workshops at the high school level. And I noticed those students are at those meetings with their parents sometimes, or those parents tend to stay involved. So it's nice that we're setting that foundation here. I also really appreciated seeing the translation services so that all of our families, right, are not left in the dark. They want to be engaged, right, but they're not going to be able to, right, if they don't understand what we're saying. One of the things you also pointed out was that we have ethnic studies at all of our junior high schools, which is wonderful because I know that many of our families have been advocating for that during public comment periods. Do we know how much funding is allocated specifically to that?
Yeah, I can get you those figures after this. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get it to you.
And the reason I'm asking for that is because we know that I attended a training recently held by the Santa Barbara County Office of Education. And we know that in order for ethnic studies programs to be implemented with fidelity, our staff need to be adequately trained and supported. And so that's why it's important that we make sure that our LCAP dollars are being utilized to prepare our teachers, right, with the proper training, the curriculum that they need, so that they can be effective.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that's why it's in there, and I can get you those figures for sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, the Board of Education acknowledge receipt of the Local Control and Accountability Plan, LCAP, and Local Indicators Mid-Year Update as presented.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe we're now on item 13, new business. Board members, are there any items that you all wish to see discussed for future board meetings? All right, seeing none. Item 14, board and superintendent reports. Mr. Hollinshead.
I had a wonderful day the other day on the campus of Tommy Coots Junior High with Mr. Calandro. He showed me around to several of their science classrooms. We have a number of young women scientists in the classroom there that were doing a really cool experiment on the opacity of and or blocking qualities of different substances to light in a dark classroom. So not only did I go to a junior high, but I voluntarily went into a dark classroom at a junior high. And I'm here to tell the tale. No, and it was a really enlightening get it. It was a really great day and great thing to see those young teachers, very enthusiastic, very well received by their students. And then I went into one of the classrooms where I knew one of the young students that's in special ed and was able to visit them and see how their day was going. And that was really exciting for both the student and myself, because I was able to follow through on a promise that I would come to visit them when I came to their campus. It was also just really a pleasure to meet and talk to John Calandro about his philosophies with regard to junior high and differentiating that experience from our elementary schools, and really seeing how he's implementing that and taking his time to build trust on that campus with his staff and with the students and with the parents, and really kind of build on what he sees, what he told me is a really great group of kids and with endless potential, if you will. So that was really exciting for me. And in doing that, or in talking with him, he mentioned to me an article that Nicole Wiseman had shared with him about 8 things you can do with junior high students currently, with some of the behavioral things that they're experiencing or demonstrating. And it was just good perspective after having been on the campus and seeing how John's dealing with it, having been on campus with at El Camino last year and having spent a lot of time with Dr. Palmerston at Fessler. Sorry, Arianos, I haven't been there yet. But it was nice to see that a lot of those things, I think, are processes and thoughts that our admin and teachers on the junior high sites are already going through and understand, and that it's not like, okay, well, COVID ended 2 years ago, so you should be the same kid you were before COVID. So they're really thoughtful and engaging processes. And then I've seen those, just the most basic of those talked about tonight and practiced, where either Mr. Quadro or whomever is greeting a kid as they come onto campus, or as they come out of there. All the teachers were saying goodbye to those kids as they left their classroom or as they came on after a passing period. And, those things, as we've talked about before, can't be underestimated as far as creating a sense of community and belonging. And it could be that one simple thing that does that. So that was really great. And other than that, wonderful experience. Oh, I did see Mr. Valencia at the Loteria at Santa Maria High School, which was an absolute delight. Got there a little late, so they were almost taking things down. But we did get a glance at most of the beautiful artwork, and it was, I'm sure, a lot of our kids. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hollinshead. Mr. Lara? Ms. Cabral?
I like how our sign looks up there, the logo and the TV, it looks really cool. I did participate on the 31st with the strategic planning committee. We got all back together and talked about 4 key elements that we wanted to focus on for pursuing. And so it was great to hear from the different groups. A lot of getting our families involved and making sure that they understand what's going on with their children and understand homework, can help. Facilities was also a big ask. And so it was great to hear all that. And we saw new merch with our logo too. So that was pretty cool that we can distribute. I didn't bring it with me. Other than that, nothing else. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cabral. Ms. Cordero?
Actually, both Mr. Lara and I, the day after our last board meeting, went out to Arianas Junior High, and the avid teacher out there has invited us in the past to come and observe presentations that the avid students have done or are presenting. This time their task was to create a business or a product and provide information to support and encourage others to invest in their proposal. And it was, and we were given money, fake money to invest as, we went along and looked at them. There was definitely a lot of interest from other students on the campus, and there was a pretty diverse group of adults investing in their projects. So it was extremely interesting to see how creative our students can be, and you could definitely differentiate the groups that had really spent quality time and effort in developing their proposal and others that didn't seem quite as well prepared. But it was overall a very good experience. I attended the last LCAP Ed Partner Workshop that was at Libin. Can't even remember where we went. And it was, there was a pretty good turnout there. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we got a recap of the responses from the different things. I can't remember now what that program is that you respond with, but anyway, it was interesting. Probably the biggest time investment, I've spent 3 days at Alvin. The first 2 were consecutive, And Alvin is one of the schools that is participating in the grant with WestEd and the letters training. And I was most interested in seeing the work that they're doing with their PLC development. 2 grade levels were in the first group, and then 2 other grade levels in the last group. And the first day, they really focused on what the standard was that they were going to teach or that would be taught. What were the components of the standard? What they brainstormed together, strategies that the volunteer teacher was going to do for the demo lesson the next day. And it was, it's the kind of thing that my entire educational career, I wish we would have had time to be doing. Because it really, the teacher who did the demonstration lesson made some adjustments in what he or she was going to do the next day, and then commented on how well he or she thought they'd worked. And then we looked at some of the student work and gave feedback, and everybody on the team for the grade level benefited from that. And they all pretty much said that. So was very exciting. Very exciting. I also was at the last strategic planning meeting where all of the groups brought their thoughts and recommendations for implementation of our strategic plan. And at the end of that day, Dr. Salcido was here and gave a really good presentation on the state of education in our county. And I took time last Saturday and dropped in on the robotics event that was at Libin. And I'm very fascinated with that all because it seems so out of my comfort of what I could ever be doing. But it's fascinating to see how engrossed the students are, how intense, they are about, making the modifications to their robot, and how they, who controls the controller, and what they need to do the next time. And then the students there, the high school students there that were evaluating and giving directions and facilitating the whole thing. It's just a really fun event. And happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And thank you to all who are wearing pink and red. Yes. I had mentioned that to our board members at our last meeting, that how nice it would be if we all came in pink or red, and you can see so much for my leadership.
Sir. Yeah. All right, thank you so much, Linda. I appreciated some of the comments you made regarding the robotics program, because I think that's also a program that's really elevating our STEAM and connecting our young people to these careers, which we know are extremely popular in California, Silicon Valley, around the world. And like you said, these are engaging our young people in subjects that unfortunately sometimes they don't naturally hook to. It saddens me how often I hear our young people say, "I'm not good at math." But then we enter them into these competitions and they do a great job, and they don't always see those two as connected. So I really appreciate the wonderful work our district is doing to continue to support.
And
those
so you
initiatives.
need to work on getting that program into the high school curriculum, because that's one of the conversations that I had with the person who is really running their robotics is that the only high school that has any robotics currently is Delta.
Mhm.
So,
And they're actually a state contender, you know, in terms of their competition.
yeah.
Absolutely. I also attended the State of Education event recently, and one of the things that I want to highlight for teachers is the credit union, the CESLOC credit union, actually has grants for teachers to support, you know, additional programming. They did mention that the application is very easy to complete, which I really appreciate as a teacher because, you know, I'm busy grading and planning, and if their application process is too time consuming, then I'm not going to do it. But they said, please spread the word because it is an easy application, not very time consuming. I believe it's up to $500 to support things that you're already doing in the classroom. So I want to encourage all of our staff that are interested in looking into that. A couple of other things that I think are important to mention. I appreciate the highlighting of the Avid Business Fair, which I believe was held. Is that at Arianas? Is that correct? And I want to highlight some of the notes because we receive all these wonderful invitations to participate in all these events, and unfortunately, we don't all have the opportunity to attend. But I wanted to highlight some of the work that they're doing, and I believe I received this email from Ms. Jennifer Danowitz. It says regarding the students that they have learned about different roles in company leadership, writing a business plan, startup costs, insurance, finances, and marketing and advertising. At the fair, they will show their company and products with the hope of getting investors to believe in their product and the company's potential via kind of the Shark Tank type of style. So I really again appreciate kind of how applicable these kind of lessons are, right, to the real world. My hope is that the Santa Maria Valley will continue to be a place of commerce where our young people don't have to go to Santa Barbara or to Silicon Valley, right, to start up these businesses, that they could be able to do that right here, closer to home. So those are the things that really excite me that our educators and our staff are doing. So thank you so much. And if your classroom is doing some of these things and we're not always aware, right, of all the wonderful things, please put that on our radar as well. I really appreciated in the weekly updates that we received from Dr. McDuffie that I believe at TK, some of the staff held a volleyball game against the students. And I remember seeing kind of like the buzz that creates when our staff play basketball games or volleyball games against the students. Again, talking about that community building where they see us as human beings, right? Who, you know, also might miss a layup or, you know, not be able to dunk or something. I think just those opportunities to engage outside of the classroom are really key. So I want to thank our staff for going above and beyond their regular workday to do that with our students. I also saw that TK was doing some newcomer Spanish collaboration. It says here our English learner newcomer students joined our Spanish classes to promote more language development in both English and Spanish. Students had a great time getting to know each other, working to create a collaborative poster and playing loteria together. So I love how intentionally TK is incorporating our newcomers who are often feeling very isolated, right? It's a new culture, it's a new language. So again, being very intentional about those connections is wonderful. And on top of it off in a culturally responsive manner by playing things like loteria, which is a really popular game throughout Latin America. I also appreciated seeing in one of the AVID classes, I believe this is Mrs. Gillespie's AVID class. It says here that they provided input for our district's LCAP process. As part of our LCAP, we collect information from parents, teachers, and community and students. Our AVID class provided 23 participants, 30 unique thoughts, and they ranked 575 individual ideas so that our district can make highly informed decisions about our needs. So I really appreciate that effort of incorporating our students, right? A lot of times we hear from the adults, not enough from the young people who are our inspiration for being here. So I thank Mrs. Gillespie's AVID class, her AVID students for demonstrating that leadership. I also noticed that Tunnel Elementary had a Black History Night on February the 8th. And I would love to learn a little bit more on how that event went since I didn't have the privilege to attend. But again, I appreciate the intentionality of honoring Black history and culture all throughout the year, but playing special emphasis on February and the month of February. I also saw Mr. Hollinshead and Ms. Lo Chung Bu at the Loteria project, which was hosted at Santa Maria High School. And it's an ethnic studies project where actually our high school students create their own loteria card. And the themes that they touched upon were themes that were extremely relevant to things that, you know, are happening in our world today. They were talking about the challenges of a drug addiction that they see in their communities. They were talking about challenges of dealing with homelessness, of dealing with poverty, of dealing with anxiety, depression, all themes, right, that we know affect many of our students and our staff. And so I really was blown away by the caliber of the work that our young people were doing. It was a collaboration with Rigetti Ethnic Studies students, Santa Maria Ethnic Studies students, and especially because we're going to be looking at the potential of this bond measure. I think it's really essential that not just we as board members continue to remain visible in our school and our community, but also like our district leadership staff. So it was wonderful to see Ms. Lo Vu, and I invite all the rest of our leadership staff at all levels to join us for these wonderful events, because it'll give our families an opportunity to get to know you on a first name basis, continue to build trust, and hopefully make progress toward that bond measure as well. So thank you very much, everyone. I wish you all a feliz día del amor y la amistad, which in Latin America is kind of a really sweet twist to Valentine's Day, because it's not just when we think of Valentine's Day, it tends to be in the romantic sense of a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend type of deals. But with Feliz Día del Amor y la Amistad, that actually acknowledges friendship as a crucial part of that as well. And so I saw many of my students today in school with hearts and flowers, and it was from their friends and not just like a partner. So I wish you all a Feliz Día del Amor y la Amistad.
Gracias. And I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day. And I apologize in advance to everyone, including my wife, that we are here this evening. But I've also talked to her about the song that talks about love. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. So if you're next to someone, you can give them a good squeeze and tell them Happy Valentine's Day. Okay, I'm going to be really short. Thank you, President Valencia. You touched on the state of education address. You've touched on the visits to the schools. So I'm not going to go too into depth with that. You talked about the strategic planning team listening to our action plans. Those action plans will be coming forward to the board next board meeting, February 28th. There's no special day. It'll be coming February 28th to the board to see those action items. And so we will be presenting them there. I've had the opportunity to attend our volleyball games with our students, our elementary students. We had Sanchez and Oakley yesterday at the Minami. Is it Minami Center? And it was a great game. Our students are truly inspiring, just to witness their sportsmanship that they displayed. So it was exhilarating to see. And, you know, there are events like this that not only showcase the talent of our students, but also highlight the importance of extracurricular activities, promoting that teamwork, that relationship building, and a healthy competition. Did I say Sanchez won? 2 out of 3. So Sanchez is still undefeated. But they played tremendously. I was just so excited. Also, again, please report the action teams and the strategic initiatives that we are moving forward with. And also take time right now to thank those who worked on this project and or worked on the strategic plan, all of our staff, our parents, our community partners. It's something where our action teams and our action team leads, they put a lot of work into doing research and bringing people together to create these action plans. So I thank them once again for their support and truly appreciate their contributions to the positive trajectory of our school district. Finally, I had the opportunity to speak to the student leaders and advisory team this month, and it's been great. I talked to them about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and provided them my story in relation to the drum major instinct and Martin Luther King, and that was just always engaging for students and to really engage them in conversation about things that are relevant and relative to their lives and their world today, and how they connect that to what happened 60 years ago and what was spoke of so long ago. So that's always inspiring for me to be with those students. In closing, did I say in closing already? I'll say it again. In closing, I remain deeply committed to our collective mission. The mission of Santa Maria Bonita School District, really quickly, as a unifying force that cultivates and enriches our diverse community, is to ensure that every student flourishes by discovering their passion and purpose, exercising self-determination, and developing skills to reach their maximum potential. I just love our mission statement. And so I'm going to maybe get into the script or make sure that it's something as we continue to brand. Brian and Sasha Hernandez, our digital media specialists, will be making our mission, our parameters, our beliefs come to life not only here at the district office, but at all of our sites as well through digital media. And so with that, I am happy to end my comments for this evening. Ms. Lara.
Is there any way we could get the schedule to the volleyball games? Because I can sneak away from work easy and go watch.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're on the right track. Nicole's going to send it to me,
Yeah.
and I'll send it to you. Playoffs are coming pretty soon. And so with that, I forgot to mention that we'll be ordering, Brian, make sure we order a mic for our friend Matt Beecher so that you can have one of the hanging mics as well. That's all I have. Thank you, President Valencia.
Thank you so much. One thing that I forgot to mention is I saw pictures of what our maintenance had to deal with after the winds and the rains, and I was pretty, no pun intended, blown away by the magnitude of what I saw, like trees and branches and like whole trees tumbled down. And so I really appreciate that, our maintenance staff jumped right in and, took care of those issues to ensure the safety of our staff and our students. So thank you so much for those efforts. We are now at item 15, adjournment. The next regular board meeting of the Santa Maria Bonita School District will be held on February 28th, 2024. There being no further business before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn? It is moved by Ms. Cordero and seconded by Mr. Hollinshead to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? The time is now 8:29.